I work at CDC, but I'm also uh, a assistant professor at the School of Public Health at Emory, and have been involved with student voting for many years. But recently, actually, through a presentation from the Civic Center, um, had learned about the importance and opportunities of registration in high schools. And so that's really been my passion here for the last 6, 8 months, and delighted to have worked with each of the organizations on the call now, and others we're trying to recruit. Um, and I would point out, in terms of in terms of discussing data, I would like to mention that the Civic Center, Diego's group, also, in addition to the work he mentioned, also has set out sort of a national standard for developing data for 18-year-olds in by state, and just actually last week published data for Georgia for 2024, and along with data from Michigan. And so, if you haven't all seen that data yet, one of the things, Neil, we should make sure to do is circulate around and get that important data available to everyone.
Absolutely.
Second, when we first got involved with high schools, we realized that many high schools were already involved with voter registration drives. So this is not a new thing. But what did occur to me early on was that I've actually been served as a assistant registrar in high school voting drives, but those mainly involve paper drives, paper registration drives, tabling events, etc. And the one thing that they didn't take full advantage of were the new opportunities to utilize data, and in particular to use either the voter files, as Leslie mentioned, to match those to the student database, to identify those who are registered and not. Alternatively, Georgia has really a wonderful website for individuals' data called My Voter Page. It's an extraordinarily useful device or creation that's been developed by the Secretary of State office, that allows one to check their own registration, their registration status, and to learn who their legislators are, who the great majority of people don't know who all their representatives are. And then, very importantly, at the time of when it comes time to vote, to be able to print out a sample ballot so that you actually know which are all the races and other questions that may be added to the ballot, that many people are surprised and avoid when they come to that. And so that use of the creating familiarity with My Voter Page is a very separate, important feature for students and for all voters, for that matter. And at the same time, it also can be especially useful in these voter drives, such as the school districts are now conducting, and high schools are now conducting, because you can get in real time a validation of whether a student has been successfully registered or not. So that just and both the My Voter Page also provides the sort of data validation that the voter drive has been effective in leading to a particular student to be registered. And for those for school districts or high schools that have launched a drive, and have started with a list of students whose age makes them eligible to vote. Eligible to register for a given during a given election cycle. They can essentially tick those names off their list by use of the My Voter page. Otherwise, it can be very challenging to keep track of who's actually been successfully registered and not. So I will stop there.